I think it was our busiest day ever still now.
Still
Day
busiest
one.
day.
Yeah.
Day one.
Yeah, and the police turned up because people were backing up onto the dual carriageway.
It should say the suits, right? It should be the suits.
Yeah, it should say the suits. Oh man, we could do the suits if you want real quick. That is good. Okay.
Or we just clip it and then we start.
Yeah. Or we just go.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All the way from Merthyr. Have you come all the way from Merthyr today?
No.
Not quite from Merthyr.
Oh.
Not from Merthyr.
Where do we come from?
We come from the Forest of Dean.
Ah. Close.
Yeah.
There you go.
Ish.
Well, I kind of come from there since I was a kid as well. So
From
I moved
from Forest of Dean?
from Forest of Dean. Yeah, I moved away for a long time and then came back, and that's where we live now.
Okay. Interesting. I guess we should probably try and figure out then how you ended up with a bike park in Merthyr. That's a great start.
Okay.
Isn't it? Let's start with that.
Should we try and give
Also
a
quite
condensed
cool
version?
to have you on here. Like, it's really cool. Obviously, we just did our video mini-series,
Yeah.
visiting the
thanks
bike
for
park, and we both obviously came away with loads of insights and questions and all sorts of stuff. It was a really eye-opening experience. And also, we're going full circle because you were guest 3
coming. Was it 3?
ever
Amazing.
on the podcast.
Wow.
Long
Yeah,
time
which
ago.
is crazy. I was thinking about that on the drive down.
Do you
Don't
know
go
when it was?
back
What
and
year it
listen
was?
to it. No, I can't remember, mate. It must have been 7 years ago.
Yeah.
6.5, 7 years ago.
Yeah, so we would have only been open for like 3 or 4 years by
Yeah,
that point.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember where I did it. I did it in my bedroom at my mum's house.
Yeah.
And I didn't even have a table. So I was
Didn't
sat
you?
on the floor on
Really?
a beanbag, trying not to move because I didn't want the microphone to pick up the sound of the beans.
Beanbag's a bad one, yeah. I'm glad we learned
Yeah,
that.
really bad.
Beanbag's bad.
And
yeah.
it's just cool, man, to think that, for all of us,
Yeah,
how far
we've
things
all
have
been
come,
on a journey,
not
then.
just having the
Yeah.
dope spot in someone else's house, but also
I feel like we have to explain because we've introduced you as the suits.
yeah.
You know what I mean? We have to explain why we introduced you as the suits.
Yeah. Do you want us to explain it?
Can you explain it? Yeah, that'd be good.
You go for it.
So when we first started, probably still now, we always called the suits and various comments and things on Facebook, so the suits behind Bikepark Wales.
People seem to think that we're a mega corp and
Yeah.
that there's like some faceless organisation in London that's like behind Bikepark Wales and that they call the shots and that they own the place and it's this like money machine and everything. But yeah, the reality is that it's started by me and Anna and Rowan and Liz, and we were just some people in their
Scrambling
20s
around.
who just kind of fumbled it together and made it happen, and that's still the case today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's something flattering about them thinking you're the suits in a way.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's a
Or not.
compliment. No, a
It
little
doesn't
bit.
feel, it doesn't feel it like
It
if-
kind of means that it's been run properly.
yeah,
and
I
people
guess
actually
I
run
hope
things.
that's why people think it. I hope
Yeah.
it's because it's professional and it appears to be slick and well funded and this, that, and the other. But it's not.
You've always been, from your background, you've
Yeah.
always set it up that it's been really professionally branded and the signs look good and it's always
Yeah,
been
we-
hot on your. hot on
We
your
approached
list,
it.
isn't it?
We're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here, but yeah, we always wanted to make it the best possible place that we could, and our model has been, we've been open 11 years now, and it's been continual reinvestment. We basically don't take money out of the business; it just like goes in and in and in and in, and it allows you to just get bigger and better year on year.
So it's hard to imagine how different probably 11 years ago the landscape was in terms of mountain biking. What did mountain biking look like? Because you'll really remember 11 years ago what mountain biking looked like, I guess.
Yep.
What did it
absolutely.
look like then?
Trail centres.
Okay.
It was the peak, wasn't it?
It really was the peak of trail centres.
11 years ago.
Yeah. It was like when, no matter what your background was, whether you were from downhill, dirt jump, cross country, a lot of people rode trail centres a lot, and people would drive to Avon or Cumcarn or wherever and spend a lot of time riding, and it was great at that time. Like, everyone loved it. It was unique. I actually rode one yesterday for the first time in years and had a really good time. It was great.
Yeah.
But that was the landscape, wasn't it? It was like you went downhilling and you probably pushed your bike up, or you went to a trail centre, or you went dirt jumping, but like enduro riding didn't really exist, did it?
Just
Like, yeah,
happening,
it's sort of just
wasn't it?
happening.
Did we have dropper posts?
Nope.
See, that is so mad how
Yeah.
much difference that made. Because
We actually we looked up the Trek rental bike that we had in our first year, because it was our 10-year anniversary the other day. So we looked like, what was our rental bike 10 years ago? And it was like no dropper, had a long stem, it had 26-inch wheels, narrow bars, crap tires, and it's like it's changed so much, and that's actually, it's impacted the riding as well, and it's actually now impacting what we're going to build next, because when we opened, we made a sort of bold call to not build a downhill bike park. When we first opened, we were like, let's build a bike park for the bikes that everyone has, which was a 150mm bike-ish, wasn't it, at that time, I think. And that's what we did at the time. But bikes have evolved, and we've evolved with bikes. But we did a survey a few weeks ago of all of our customers, and the average bike is a 170mm 29er now. That's the most common bike at the bike park.
So?
It's
Yeah.
a lot of travel.
Out of
It is a lot
people
of travel.
that ride at your park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, it's in my notebook. The stats. I want to get onto the stats later on, because you must have some unbelievable. How many people ride the bike park now every day?
It varies daily, doesn't it?
It does. So on a busy weekend day, 500?
Yeah.
About 500 riders on a busy weekend day.
That's amazing.
It's
And
a
yet,
lot, isn't it?
11 years ago,
Sure.
I thought something was going to happen. I'll be honest, because I was riding Avan and I felt like mountain biking was bigger than anything I'd ever experienced.
Yeah.
And these are just trail centres.
Yeah.
You obviously really thought that.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea came, you and Rowan independently came up with it.
Yeah.
And
What? Sorry to interrupt you, Anna, but like, what did life look like for you 11 years ago? What were you both doing?
Yeah. You go first, because yours is more interesting.
I was no, I don't, I'm not sure I was. I was an accountant, so I'm not sure that's interesting.
right,
It was
Okay.
more different.
It's really different, yeah. So I was an accountant working at KPMG, sitting exams. And then this sort of came up, and it's been a sideline for years. I think we had 3 years or so, maybe even longer.
It was
than that, actually. 5 years between having an idea and then it actually happening. But
Do you remember those first early conversations?
yeah,
And were you into biking yourself as well? You always
yes, but I was quite new into biking then. I
Right.
was probably 3 years into biking.
Yeah.
3 or 4 years into biking at that point. So quite new into it.
Like
Absolutely loved it.
We met in 2007, and you were just starting to ride then.
yeah.
And we incorporated the company in 2009, so it was like 2 years later.
Yeah.
wow.
And at that time I was, when I very first started it, I was the brand manager for Iron Horse in the UK. So this was in the Sam Hill days, at the heyday. So I kind of came in right at the peak and just rode the back of that for a while. And then they went bust. I don't know if everyone remembers, but Iron Horse went bust because the owner of the company had basically been embezzling funds and stuff. And I think he went to prison. But I lost my job overnight because that just happened. It was there's no Iron Horse anymore, so you don't really have a job. But the guys who ran the distributor here in the UK said, we don't want to let you go. We'd quite like you to start a brand for us. So we'd like to keep you employed and do that, but you need to move to Eastbourne. And I've kind of lived in Bristol, Forestine, that area all my life. And I was like, I'm not sure about that. I'm a mountain biker and I kind of like being near the mountains. Went and tried it for a while. They paid for me to come and live down there for a while, and it just wasn't for me. So I quit with no job. Didn't have anything to go to other than Anna to keep me afloat. Got a job in a bike shop in Bristol. And then when I was working in the bike shop, that was when I was I just felt like I wanted more in life, and was driving home from Avon actually one day. It'd been bubbling around for years. Me and Rowan had talked about it because we worked together at Cumcarn building the downhill track there a few years before. And I just was driving home on the M4 and I was just like, this is like a gaping hole. It was closest to an epiphany I've ever had. It was just someone's going to do this. And I think that we can pull together a really good team to do this.
Yeah.
And I've never had such a conviction that it was going to work. And then over the years, that conviction got eroded bit by bit by bit. And Anna would be the one going, no, it will work. And me and Rowan are like, well, in the financial model, can you cut half the customers out and double the costs, and will it still work?
And I was like, no, it won't work.
So when you say about the epiphany of wanting to start the bike park, what did trail centres look like at that point, and what was missing?
There was a big problem and there still is a big problem with the model of trail centres, in that the government would put large amounts of money in, sometimes millions of pounds, to build these trail centres, and then they'd be free to ride. But then over the years, they would just deteriorate and just get worse and worse and worse, to the point that they just weren't fun to ride anymore. And there was no model to reinvest in them, to maintain them or improve them or whatever. And Rowan and I could see that. Like, we could see that places like Avon were awesome, and then they were just like on a gradual decline, and there was no way of getting funds, and the government couldn't do it.
It's really sad, actually.
Yeah,
like you
it is.
Go and re-ride them now, and you're like, oh, this
Yeah.
used to be brilliant, and now it's quite.
I guess those places do rely on just volunteer people just patching bits.
Yeah,
up, but
and
it's not like a full renovation.
No,
like
not at all.
do.
It's just like piecemeal, and the government will find bits of funding to like rebuild bits of the trail, but it never would get the love that they deserve. So we could see that, but we could also see that the sport was evolving and that people wanted uplift riding. They wanted more challenging riding, and like Forestry Commission are not willing to take on that risk, like to sort of create much more challenging and potentially dangerous riding, and it needs to be very controlled and managed. And we were young and stupid and willing to take on that risk ourselves.
Okay. So what do those like first steps look like? You have this epiphany.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by
how
this
do you
financial
then
model.
get this ball rolling?
Yeah.
Funny one, isn't it? Because like I've had many business ideas in the past, and nothing's ever really stuck in the same way that this one has. And I think it was having the right team on board, actually, from the beginning. You know, you've got Mark, who's got like endless experience in like the industry and marketing. You've got Rowan, who set up his own company building trails, and then I came in from a financial background, so I ended up being quite useful in the end.
Yeah, I think like one of the things we've learned over the 10 years is that the skills that we had as a team, and Liz, Rowan's wife, she came from like a construction background.
Right.
I don't think at the beginning we appreciated each other's skills enough, and I think over the years we've really learnt to appreciate what we all brought to the table.
I don't think it would have happened. Like,
no way.
There's no way it would have happened without all of us having been in that.
And we were lucky, really. Like, it wasn't like we purposefully crafted this amazing blend of skills that happened to be so complementary. It was just like, oh, my girlfriend happens to be a chartered accountant, and Rowan, you happen to know how to build trails, and I happen to have brand and marketing and sales, and Liz, you have to have construction. It was just kind of lucky.
Yeah.
Right.
But because of that, like, whenever we went to try and raise funds, which is probably the next question you're going to have, no one said no. Every room we walked into was like, yep, we'll lend money to you, we'll invest, whatever.
Which is crazy when you think about it.
Like, go on.
So this financial plan is based around something that hasn't happened yet, though. That's what I think. That's why I find it interesting. So you're trying to project what you think you could. How are you? What are you projecting?
So I think we started with 25,000 visitors a year coming. Then you'd price it up, like what how much an uplift ticket cost, how much you'd pay to go and ride.
Yeah.
I think we even at one point had car parking costs in there at one point. And then you go away and you try and work out like what my business rates would be, how much electricity do you think you're going to use, like how much the buses are going to cost to maintain, and you run through everything you can think of, and then I put a whacking great contingency of like, I don't know what else is going to turn up at the bottom of it.
But it's a hell of a model. Like, it's why you need an accountant, because me and Rowan could have done a basic financial model, but it was very detailed, and like the one that we have now,
it's a
how
beast.
many sheets is on it? Like, our budget's it's like this mad spreadsheet that Anna's created, and it's unbelievably accurate. Like, you can have months where she's predicted the costs and the revenues to within like a couple of tens of pounds. Wow. It's super impressive.
I think the first one interests me the most, because it's like 25,000 people in the year are coming to do something new that doesn't currently exist. I think that's the bit that I find. I mean, that to me is really impressive.
That was the bit that was the hardest, and that was the bit that Rowan and I would always be going to Anna and going, can you try and assume it's going to be a bit worse than we think? Because literally just trying to survive was our aim. We were like, if we make it through a year or 2 years, and then we can just make it. That was the aim, and we were trying to just predict, like, if the visitor numbers are nothing like what we imagine, what will happen. And the reality is we just didn't know. We had no idea how many people would come. All we had to go off was, like, occasionally Jason Carpenter would run, like, a Dragon Uplift Day or something like that, but they were, like, once every few months, and he'd have, I can't remember, maybe he had 200 people come or something like that. But it was like, well, there's 200 people who want to come once every couple of months, but we're going to be open every week. Like, are there enough people who are into mountain biking who are going to want to come that frequently? We just had no idea, did we?
No, we based it off Whistler
Oh,
numbers.
right, yeah.
Yeah, we had those.
Used how many people came to trail centres.
Yeah.
And we looked at other places that uplifted, like how many buses they ran.
Right.
And like opening hours and that sort of thing.
Right.
So we took a whole load of all of that and then came out with this sort of figure.
Yeah.
Like the 25,000 visitors a year, which I think pretty soon we smashed that in year one, didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
How did you, like those first conversations about raising money, how do you do that?
Again, it's like none of us.
Who do you go see?
We hadn't
You had
done
you
it. Like,
had loads, didn't you? You went down to chat to that chap down in Wales. He was like a business advisor down in Wales.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
it was,
me and
he
Rowan,
was
that's
in,
funny.
But yeah, that was really early on.
We approached basically like our local council, and we're like, oh, we've got this business idea and we need to raise some funds. And they put us in touch with like a business advisor, like a council-funded business advisor. And I remember, Rashad, we went to see this guy.
Yeah.
And me and Rowan pitched our business idea to him, and I think we just blew his mind. Like, he was typically advising someone who was setting up like a hair salon for like one person or something, and we were talking about like millions of pounds and stuff. And I think he was just like, "This is not
money,
money." So he basically just kind of floated away, and he didn't even sort of say, "I can't help you." He just sort of disengaged and disappeared. So we were left alone, and like with everything, it was just literally just dirtbagging it, just like, let's just give it a go. Let's just think, who do we know that's got money? You know, what financial institutions can we approach? And we used Finance Wales, they were called at the time, which is Development Bank for Wales. Now it's like a part government owned bank. So they basically will invest in probably slightly more risky businesses that they think will benefit the economy.
Yeah.
And they give you a really expensive loan. Like, it was really expensive. But they lent the money.
Right.
And
for all of it?
No.
Okay.
No, they lent us £500,000, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
we were 26 years old and didn't have money. So we were like taking the lift down from the meeting in the bank with our Georgia Asda shirts on and just like, did they just agree to loan us £500,000? It's like, I think they did.
So how does a loan like that work? Obviously, it comes with an expectation. How is those?
It came, well, we put in, I mean, all of our money, which wasn't that much. It was like house deposit that we'd sort of been saving for at that point. And then we're in the process of getting grants, a massive grant from the government to build it.
Yeah.
And that loan was conditional on the grant. So they wouldn't have given it to us if the grant hadn't come with it.
Okay.
Yeah, the grant kind of was like the seed that drew in the other money, because they're like, well, if you've got that, then this is real and you're probably going to actually do it.
And you just kind of write, I guess I honestly have no idea about, well, probably a lot of people don't, about how these like loans work, but you stipulate terms on each loan, so that can be like, in 10 years time we want this much back, or we want this much.
It was an annual repayment, wasn't it?
Or
It was, going back a while.
5
years?
Is it literally
Yeah, it was a 5-year term. Yeah, like a mortgage, but a 5-year term.
And you pay back a set amount each.
And it was double-digit interest.
Okay.
So it was expensive.
Because they're not all like that, are they?
No.
They're literally an array of different, like...
Yeah.
And
Yes.
a lot of it depends on what security you've got and
'cause
how
they wanted
risky
us
the bank
to-
thinks you are.
Right.
They wanted us to give like personal guarantees, but we didn't really have any personal guarantees to give, because we didn't own a house, we didn't have any money, and it was like, you can take the shirt off my back, but that's kind of all I've got.
It's from George.
But I think that was like part of, like, I wouldn't take that risk now. You know, like,
Really? That's just been young and
I've got
passionate
kids now, and like, you know, we didn't really have much to lose. Of course, we didn't want to waste anyone's money or like lose the bank's money, so that was a big weight. But it wasn't like we had an empire to lose, you know. So we were willing to take that risk.
I love this story. It's the dream. It is the dream,
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
fascinating.
I mean, I can't help. I've always dreamt of having a bike park, and
Yeah.
then like Bikepark Wales is such a bike park. Like you turn up to it, it's like it's on a mountain. How did you even find your location? Because at that point there were dragons previously running, right?
Yeah. It's probably a question for me, isn't it?
That's definitely a question for you.
basically me and Rowan spending weeks, months, years poring over Google Maps as a starting point, trying to work out where's got enough elevation, where's got tree cover, where hasn't, what do we know about these places because we've ridden them. You know, we were considering places like Riola and other locations. What's the weather like? How much snow does it get? What's the wind direction?
So it's completely planned.
Yeah,
You
all that, yeah. And then we literally got in your purple Fiesta, which we had at the time, and went driving around forest roads and scouring hillsides for years. Yeah, literally for years, and like walked so many hills. And
Was there another location that was close?
Riola was somewhere that we liked.
Okay.
But the Forestry Commission there, Natural Resources Wales now, didn't want to put a bike park there. The weather's horrendous. The soil type's not particularly good either. But we were really nervous about the soil type at Gethin, where the bike park is, because it's like a collage. It's like, I think Dunk might have mentioned it when you guys were talking to him. You can have like a patch where there's really good material, and then you can move 4 meters and it's just absolute crap. Which is why a lot of the trails have to be surfaced at the bike parks. We have to bring in stone for certain styles of trail, because if you didn't, you just end up with a rut 4 foot deep and within weeks, and the trail would be unrideable.
Yeah.
So that's one of the negatives of our hill, is that you have to surface some stuff, and it's much more expensive to build trails because of that. But the positives are that it's got amazing rock. Like the rock on our hill is so grippy.
Right.
Like when it's wet, it's sandy.
Yeah.
So the rock's super grippy, so it rides amazingly in the wet. Whereas if it was limestone, it would just be horrendous when it rained. And we've got a pretty good gradient. Like it's not super steep, so it allows you to build everything from easier trails through to harder trails, because we have like a steep section which we're going to be exploiting in the next year or so.
Okay.
So yeah,
I think sometimes we wish it had a bit more steepness at times.
Yeah.
For some of the trails that we'd like to build that.
Yeah.
But
At this point, you obviously really went into this in great detail. You're talking about like such weird amounts of knowledge and everything. Obviously, you thought about what you eventually wanted it to be, and for which riders you wanted it. You kind of like projected it would be for. What was the like plan there? Were you literally just trying to make tracks that you want to ride?
bit of both. We needed to make it a viable business. So we knew that if we just built tracks that we want to ride, we'd be talking to a small percentage of the population.
Yeah.
it kind of evolved, didn't it?
It did,
Because
yeah.
it started off as a pure downhill,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Container in the bottom type venue. That was the initial thing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was
it was,
really
yeah.
basic. And
What track was that then?
really-
Would you have said the first Bikepark Wales track?
What, that we would have wanted or that we actually built?
No, that you actually had, yeah.
Ah.
Because it's sort of...
Well, we built loads in one go. Like when we opened, we had, I can't remember how many trails we had, 15 or something trails.
Wow.
But they were all built simultaneously. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like we had one ready and then started riding it. We didn't ride any of them until they were all ready, basically, did we?
Yeah.
It was
Really?
was chaos.
I guess if you think about it, like Enter the Dragon and Into Deep Nav would have been the closest you would have got
Yeah,
to the original downhill
Dragon.
track.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It was that.
Because that's why I asked, because that's
Yeah.
a downhill track,
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
it? So,
Yeah, that follows pretty much the line of, there were 2 Dragon tracks at Gethin, but the more recent of the 2 was, Enter the Dragon to Colnot Dole to Deep Navigation, probably.
Right.
That follows pretty much the same line, but it's a very different trail now. Like it didn't really have any jumps before.
Yeah.
Where Enter the Dragon is, it was just basically a flat pedal across
Yeah.
the top. And it was a machine-built trail, like Jason Carpenter had built it with a machine. But yeah, it was completely different to how it was.
so what did you like add to that? I'm just really intrigued because again, it's so long ago, and like what trail was already there. Whatever you added will have been your view at the time of what a bike park would be like, because bike parks didn't exist other than
No.
Whistler or whatever. So it's like,
What did we have? The cherry.
Well, we had like Six to Pond. That was like a real
Wibbly
flagship.
wobbly.
Yeah.
yeah,
Willy Waver, so the one that you guys
Rad, yeah.
rode
Opened
when you
some
came
say.
down, when you opened it, yeah. Those were like originals, and those were... Willy Waver is called Willy Waver because another trail builder who exists in the marketplace didn't particularly like the style of trail building that Rowan had at the time, which was very like Burmy and rollery, and had referred to it as willy waving at some point. So that's why it's come to
Really, that's so.
yeah.
They often have names. Some of them
Yeah,
have,
some of
like-
the names have got good stories. Some of them I can't really talk about. But
Just to unpack though, before, so you found the location, you're like, okay, this place, this could be it. What's that next conversation to actually secure in the spot? How did that?
We pitched it, didn't we?
To
Forestry Commission, NRW
Yep.
now. And we said, look, we want to do this. This is the site that we're interested in. And they went, we've done a survey on that. We agree with you that's what's needed.
Okay.
We're like, okay, sweet. And then we waited how many years?
yeah.
And finally, they came to us and said, well, there's an open tender available for you to bid to do a project at Gethen.
After we'd submitted our business plan to them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And then they asked us to do a competitive tender, which was, it was horrible.
It took 2 years.
Took 2
Did- I
years.
was gonna say,
Yeah,
who
took
had-
years. To
Anyone have any experience in creating?
Yeah, Rowan did a bit.
Yeah, Rowan's
A
pretty good at
tender is
that.
a business
Yeah, what does it
plan.
mean?
Yeah, it's basically they put a loose concept out, didn't they? But it was a competitive dialogue before a
That's
tender.
right,
So they
true.
basically asked you to come in for a meeting and you had to present your vision into a board of people from the Forestry Commission, the local council, Welsh Government, and they would ask you questions and you had to try and, because that competitive dialogue was used to shape the tender. So they basically spoke to everyone who said they were interested and they all gave their ideas and they probably took what they felt was the best bit of everyone's discussion and then put a tender together and said, this is the vision for the hill. Who wants to be the person that builds it and runs it? And we felt really hard done by because we were like, well, we're the ones that knocked on the door and said, we've got this idea.
Yeah.
And now you're making it a publicly open tender and anyone can pitch for it. So we felt a little bit put out by that, but that was the process that had to be done. And it was because there was grant funding. If there was no grant funding, I don't know. We might have been able to have just had a conversation behind closed doors and agree a lease for the land and go ahead. But that's not how it happened. And we still to this day don't know exactly who else pitched for it, but we know some of the parties who pitched because they're friends of ours. And it wasn't complicated because they're just mates and it was fine, but it was an interesting time. And then like Whistler were involved in one of the pitches. Apparently some Saudi money was involved in one of the pitches. And we would just hear like little snippets, wouldn't we? We didn't really know much. And we'd be like, oh, there's this Saudi-backed company they're going to put a chairlift in. And then we're just like, oh, shit, we don't stand a chance. Like, we're never going to get this.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I feel like at that point it would have been quite easy to maybe just throw the towel in and go, you know what, we can't compete with these people. But you didn't, which is rad.
Yeah.
Innit? It's so
It
cool.
was a funny old time, wasn't it? Because we'd sort of we're on the fence at that point. You know, it'd become an absolute beast, and we were all quite stressed out about the
Quite
delivery of it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's one thing
yeah.
having an idea, and the actual delivering on the idea is the bit that I think is the hard. Obviously, it's the hardest bit. We found out on Christmas Eve, didn't we, that we'd got it.
I found out from Dunk, actually. Dunk
No
Ferris.
way.
Yeah, he
Oh,
sent me
really?
a text because he was part of a bid on another one.
Right.
And he sent me a text saying, oh, I believe you guys, like, congratulations in order. And I'm like, oh, no, I just had a text from Dunk. What does this mean? And we're like trying to log into our emails to find out. And yeah, there was an email there saying, congratulations, you won.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. So that was Christmas Eve. But I do remember thinking, I'm not sure I actually want to do this.
Yeah, there
Genuinely,
was-
What were you doing
like,
at the time?
I,
were you
at
going
that
to?
time, would have been marketing manager at Hotlines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which, for those listening, if you don't know, is a distributor in the
Yeah,
UK.
distribution firm, which kind of distributed Nukeproof, Lapierre, well, loads of brands, like 50 brands.
Yeah.
And it was a great job and I loved it. And that made it even more difficult. Like, I really loved my job.
Really?
Yeah. And then this came up and I was like, oh man, how am I going to manage this? And you were working at RWE?
Yeah, I worked for the renewable part of RWE in their accounts department,
Right. Okay.
which I also loved, apart from it
Yeah.
was in Swindon.
Yeah.
That was a big commute for me.
So how did you balance those first, however long that was then? Like, you carried on working your normal jobs, you're working on this in the
Yeah.
evenings, weekends, etc.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
every free minute we'd be working on this.
Yeah.
Had the route to having your product been set out in your business plan? Was it something that was super helpful?
Yes, in terms of like we set the end goal, like
Yeah.
the number of trails we wanted to build, how many of them were going to be blue, red, black, what the visitor centre was going to vaguely look like. So we did know what we were aiming for, but we didn't know how to get there.
Okay.
And by this point, we had sorted our finance. So we'd borrowed money, we'd got an investor, so that's a bit that we missed. And that was literally a case of, it's Ian Officer who runs Pedal a Bike Away. He owns Pedal a Bike Away. He had bought Pedal a Bike Away right in the middle of all this going on. And we just heard that this geezer's just bought Pedal a Bike Away and he's got a few quid. And we were just like asked for a meeting with him.
Really?
Yeah.
And we just sat down with him and like, hey, this is our vision, this is what I'm going to do. And Ian was like, yeah, sounds awesome, I'm in.
It was in the cafe, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What, a Pedal a Bike Away?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I remember sitting down and pitching it to him and he went, all right.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was amazing. He just invested straight away, was up for it.
So you knew what you needed, but you didn't know the order at this stage.
No, and that was really, really hard, wasn't it? Because we were all working full time, all four of us. You at some point went down to 3 days, didn't you?
Yes, I did, but for not very long. It was a few months before Christmas after we'd been,
Yeah.
the Christmas, almost a full year,
year
after
later.
we'd been awarded it.
Because at this point, when we got awarded the tender, we didn't have planning permission or anything, so we had to get through planning, which is a massive hurdle.
So is that change of use, is it?
It's everything from ecology to change of use to transportation links to coal mining risk assessments to ecological permits for sewage discharge, like everything you got to go through. Obviously we've never done it, so we don't know any of this stuff, and we're just like keep hitting hurdles, don't we, like all the time, and delays. And because the planning keeps getting delayed, the funding deadlines shrinking. So we got given the award in Christmas, whatever year that was, 2011 or something, and the funding had to be spent by December or something.
March 2013 was the first tranche of it needed spending. And then
Right.
So we found ourselves a year later, December 2012 or whenever it was, and we still haven't got planning permission, still can't put a spade in the ground, and our first X number of £1,000 has to have been spent in 3 months' time, or you lose it.
Right.
And if you lose that money, the whole thing falls apart. You can't.
And you're not spending it because you don't want to.
No.
It's literally just paperwork.
Yep.
It's stopping you from spending it.
Yeah, you can't put
frustrating.
a spade in the ground.
Yeah.
So, and then, and we ran a tender for our visitor centre, and it came out, I can't remember, double or triple our budget.
Did it? Okay.
And then we're like, oh crap, we've got 3 months to flipping get this thing built, and we haven't even got a contractor at this point. So you had to like redesign it, retender it.
that was actually a complete nightmare.
Yeah, it was.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's the visit centre that you see today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
I think
okay.
I can't remember what our budget was, but it was 3 times what we had was what all the prices came back as. But we just, all of these things kept happening. We just found a way through every time.
What was the drive ultimately? What was it? Was it just like a
love of this, a love of the sport, a love of doing something for yourself?
Yeah.
Just a passion
and
to.
a fear of failure.
Yeah, that's yours.
Like you hear about entrepreneurs, some of them are
You have
driven
that.
by a desire to succeed, and some are driven by a fear of failure. And I was pretty scared to fail.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it's true.
because of what? Because of the money that had been
No, it
the
wasn't
grants
money.
or anything. It was
Just
literally just in yourself.
Feeling like a failure and feeling
Yeah.
like I had a vision and a passion and I hadn't pulled it off.
Yeah.
And that's still to this day, that's a massive drive for me. It's like, just don't screw it up. Like, just don't mess it up. So yeah, that was a big drive for me. It's just not to mess it up.
Yeah.
Well, it's super interesting because if you've never done any of those forms, I can just, I feel like when you talk about it, I can picture it just being midway through all of that. Like, it's like effort on top of effort on top of effort, and
It was.
hurdle on top of hurdle.
Yeah.
Like, there is a point where you're just like,
Yeah. But we did, like, because there was 4 of us, we'd all go through periods where we were finding it particularly difficult, but then the other 3 would be in a slightly better place, and we could just always pull each other through it, I think.
I spent a lot of time pulling people through that.
Really?
Yeah, Anna's the positive
I'm the
one.
positive one.
is that so? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the positive and the problem solver. Like, we'll find a way through it. We've got to.
And I'm like
Fix it.
the obsessive detail guy who will just be like drilling into everything and be like, yeah, but we've got to account for this and this and this and this and this. And she'll be like, it's going to be all right. Don't worry.
It's interesting if you're numbers based though.
Yeah.
If you're positive numbers based, that's got to be a good
Yeah.
place to be.
Yeah,
Usually you're not YOLO if you
Yeah,
numbers
totally.
based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We've got a good team. It's definitely helped.
Yeah.
Wicked.
But when I look back at those days, it's a bit of a blur. I just remember lots and lots of nights, dark outside, sat in front of my computer, writing whatever plan or creating a tender or something for part of the job, and tricky.
Carry on talking about this after this exciting break.
Companionship. Are you looking to take ownership of your health? Introducing AG1, a powerful daily nutrition supplement designed by scientists to support your body's needs. AG1 is a comprehensive and convenient blend of over 70 high-quality ingredients packed with vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced nutrients.
With just 1 scoop each morning mixed with water, AG1 helps to support your brain, heart, energy, and immune system. It's a powerfully simple way to start your day right. While we have a degree of individuality, science tells us that the human body is interconnected, which is why AG1 contains over 70 ingredients to support your baseline nutrition. Drink AG1 is the best way to feel reassured that you're supporting your body with a broad range of nutrients it needs. AG1 isn't just another supplement, it's a morning ritual, a timely habit that fits seamlessly into your routine. And it does fit into my routine.
Dude, it does, yeah.
Because I just do it in the morning before anything. Apparently you're meant to have it on an empty stomach, which I actually quite like. I take it with me in my little AG1 shaker and just go walk the dog.
I do it empty stomach every time, actually.
Yeah.
Because it said on the instructions, and I did what was on the instructions.
Like,
you know what I mean?
That's the sort of people we are.
Davey, what are the benefits?
Well, Ollie, they speak for themselves. From sustained energy throughout the day to immune support and stress management, AG1 has you covered. Plus, AG1 is NSF certified for sport, ensuring the highest quality ingredients and manufacturing standards. Ready to take the next step in your wellness journey? Visit drinkag1.com/ridecompanion today for a special offer. We are going to give you free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your next purchase.
So that's drinkag1.com/the ride companion.
That's right, mate. Yeah.
Nice.
drinkag1.com/ride companion.
Take ownership of your health with AG1. Check it out now.
Check it out now.
Well, I'm really enjoying hearing about these early moments. I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
But
cool.
there comes a time where you actually did put shovels in the ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Was it
Yes.
exciting?
Oh,
It was
absolutely.
actually.
It still is
and
now.
it's- Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing excites me more than building stuff.
Really? Yeah.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Love
building
that
was
stage.
great.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
was that? How did you then start planning out what you were going to do? Or is this part of the business plan before? How do you figure out
We'd
what
done
you're going to
quite-
do with that hillside?
Yeah.
It was Rowan,
That was
really.
Rowan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we sort of split things up, didn't we? Rowan was like, you're the trails right now.
Yeah.
You were project managing the visitor centre, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, most of my work was involving, I did a lot on grant funding, claiming back on grants, spending money.
Right.
I started doing the work on the visitor centre, getting that project managing that alongside.
I mean, obviously the vision for the visitor centre even is in anticipation of it becoming a lot bigger thing, right?
Yeah.
Because you could have gone. Is it not?
Well,
Have
you say
extended?
that.
Or-
I think in hindsight we would have put in foundations that allowed us to go double story.
Yeah, we just couldn't afford it though.
Couldn't
That's why we
afford
didn't do it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And we would have also quite liked to have opened with a shipping container. Genuinely.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
never did.
No, just because of the process we went through, because it was this competitive process, the way it was structured meant you had to offer as much as you could on the day you opened. And if we just said we're going to have 2 trails and a shipping container, we never would have won
And
the
the trails.
tender. Yeah, so we had to like spend every penny we could get our hands on and make it as big as possible, which like from a public perspective, because there was some public grant money involved, is good. It meant they got maximum value for money because we had to really make it as efficient as we could and find as much private money as we could. But it meant that we opened a business that we were not really ready to operate when we opened it.
kind of had to. It then has to work, right?
Yeah.
I'm just picturing our first day of opening,
Oh, really?
like queues down, like onto the
Yeah.
A470.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
horrendous.
carnage.
Everyone taking like £5 and stuffing them in like money bags.
We had to like call our mums and dads. So we're in like our 20s and we're like, Mum, Dad, like it's carnage. Can you just come and help? And they were like, they were
Yeah.
on the driveway up to the
Taking
bike
cash.
park with a bum bag on. Like, and we were signing people into the bike park on the road at that point. So we didn't have a
Paper.
digital form. We didn't have anything like that. It was just a piece of paper, and it was taking ages, and it was holding people up. And just like mums and dads on the entrance road and friends, just like helping out because we had like half the staff that we needed because we didn't know how many people were going to come, right? So we'd pre-sold our uplift, but we'd only sold I think 3 busfuls or something. Yeah, so like 60 people or whatever. But then like 1,500 people turned up just to ride.
It was
No way.
Yeah. I think it was our busiest day ever still now.
Still
Day
busiest
one.
day.
Yeah.
Day one.
Yeah, and the police turned up because people were backing up onto the dual carriageway. And it was just like complete carnage. But like we were there at midnight the night before putting the final drink cans on the shelves in the cafe. And like, we genuinely were like, well, we know 60 people are going to come tomorrow, but that's all we know. We just don't know. And like I'd
on
gone
the uplift.
Yeah,
But-
60 on the uplift, and that's all we knew.
And at that point, how did you book in? Was it on the phone?
No, it
we
was
had a
online.
website.
It was online,
We had a
okay.
website. Yeah. And I'd like really gone hard on the marketing because I was scared of failing. I was just like, I am just going to hammer this and just make sure someone comes. And it was like, I think it was like 7:30 in the morning, and there's this huge queue, and we're like, oh my God, it's going to work, but oh my God, what are we going to do about all these people?
Wow.
I remember having to open the gate. We'd like got the gate at the bottom shut, and we were all ready to go down and open it at like 8 o'clock or something and let people in. And I think about 7 o'clock in the morning, we're like, we're having to open the gate.
Really?
Yeah, just to get people off the dual carriageway.
So how quickly? Clearly you've got like marketing background yourself, but it struck me how much you were like quite process driven when we did these couple of days from the videos, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
everything was very much process driven. It was like everything has a place, an order. How quickly did that come about, or was that something that you already felt?
We didn't have it on day one. Definitely not. But it came quite quickly.
Yeah.
It had to, really, didn't it?
And this was
It
almost like
did.
unraveling the business a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
okay, it's gone too far that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah,
Let's
it was like
bring
we
it
were
back a little bit.
We were so focused on opening that we hadn't had enough time to think about operations and processes. And like Rowan fortunately had like a really good handle on the safety side. So having like trail inspections, like some of the stuff that you guys saw in the video and when you came, you know, Rowan's really driven that, and it's like it's really impressive as you saw, and it's industry leading, and we're super proud of it because it's very, very important, obviously. But so we had like a simple version of that on day one, but that's just evolved and got better and better with the app and all this other stuff. But other stuff, I mean, you had some processes in place for accounts.
Yeah. But that's my background. So
Yeah.
pull
Yeah.
through what you know, don't you?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But like operating shift patterns, rotors, buses, you know, driver hours, tachographs, you know.
I find it really interesting. My friend has a successful soup company,
Yeah.
believe it or not, but I always talk to him about it, and I find just each of these processes really interesting. So let's say sweeping up in the factory, you can have a broom, you provide the broom, that's great. People know that they have to sweep up after there's a mess. Then you put a hook on the wall, and that's where the broom goes, and you increase not only the productivity, but also you don't have to spend more on brooms when they get lost or broken. Then you do a line around the broom. I don't know if I'm boring everyone here.
That's great.
You do a line around the broom, and it increases again. Like he read books and books on these like processes that made his business run smoother. And I imagine over the years you've kind of drawn a lot of lines around brooms, essentially. Like
It's just been gradual, hasn't it? Like we are not experts at this stuff.
Did something have to go wrong to then implement a process,
Often.
or were you anticipating?
maybe maybe things had to go wrong. Yeah, there are definitely things that have happened that have made you go, okay, we're going to put a training course in place for that.
Right. Yeah, quite often a process is led by a incident. But that's been over a process of 10 years. But you also have to be careful not to be like all process and paperwork, and like sometimes we've probably gone too far with stuff and be like, no, you can't do that unless there's a process. So you have to try and balance it, but because of the activities that happen at the bike park, which is riding bikes, which can be quite dangerous, but also construction is pretty dangerous, you know, big machines and stuff can be dangerous, and there's a lot of legislation operating a transport operation because our minibuses are run as a coach company.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of compliance, like the bus side of it. The compliance is
Oh, it's
massive.
insane.
Right.
It's a full-time person. It's their job to be a transport manager, which is a qualification,
I'm also
which
a
you have.
transport manager.
You really
Take
are.
that exam, yeah.
Yeah, which Anna did like while she was an accountant on the side, and it's
Amazing.
a gnarly exam.
Right.
Like everyone who's
Yeah,
done
it's
it
hard.
at the Bikepark site, it's full on.
Right.
Yeah,
It's the deep end. It's the deepest of deep ends because you have a catering company, a
Yeah,
transport company, a construction company,
yeah,
and a bike rental company, and a trail building company,
yeah.
and a
And a shop.
Sharp,
shop.
coaching.
So that is an awful lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what makes it amazing. It's one of
Yeah.
the best place. Like, it is the best place I've ever worked.
Really.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. It's always interesting.
Because it's varied.
So varied.
Yeah.
And there's always something going on, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's always a disaster to fix.
Yeah, there is.
a lot of,
Yeah, always.
a lot of things that kick
But
around.
that's
going
part of
on.
it, isn't it? Like
That's
you said,
part
that's
of
part
it,
of
yeah.
running
Yeah.
the business,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's what you sign up for.
I'd say I don't have an experience because I haven't run any other businesses, but from what I've sort of heard from people who have come and worked with us, like it's a really hard business to run because it is kind of 6 businesses that are all very compliance heavy and quite risky. It's a hard business to run. It's not easy. It's hard, really hard work for our team, and it's hard work for us, but it's
Yeah.
also awesome because it is never boring, like never.
Yeah.
And not just in like a crazy chaotic way. It's just like, it's super interesting.
It's really
Like we get to do things like this, and we get to work with like our brand partners who are all awesome, and like it's super fun working with them, and we get to build trails. Like I said earlier, like building stuff is still what really, like I'm so excited because we're going to be starting to build a load more trails soon. And like I just love it, like going
Right.
up the hill, because I'm not physically building them myself, like the trail crew are building them, so I might go a few days or even a couple of weeks without seeing progress. So it feels amazing because to them they build like 100 meters of trail a day, and it feels like they're kind of inching along, but I might not be there for a bit and then come back and I'll be like, I can't wait to go see what they built. And then like they're so good that you're always like, nice. So that's still, yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
It's
I'd
great.
love to learn more about that actually. So, like, how did the team start to build out, and when do you start bringing in your own staff, and it's not just the skeleton crew of you 4?
Yeah.
Who are the first people and why?
Well, you were the first person
I
to
was
take a
the
salary.
first. Yeah.
Okay,
I bravely quit my job.
did you? Yeah,
Yeah.
just went for it.
Yeah.
Got to go all in sometimes.
And you can imagine like,
Because you
what
stayed
our-
at Hotlines for a while, right?
Yeah, I was at
remember.
Hotlines like until we were 5 years open.
I remember when
and
you
then
did the
even
podcast,
after
that's
that-
one thing that stuck with me.
Yeah,
is you were
yeah.
still doing your job.
Even after that, I then went part-time and worked at Saddleback as the brand manager for TLD and Intense. I did that for another 2 years.
Right.
So I've actually only been full-time employed by the bike park for 4 years.
Okay.
So-
Was the reason for that you'd put the money back in
Yeah.
from the park?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like we weren't just creaming the funds out and
Yeah.
buying
We're trying
yachts.
to grow
We
it to
were,
a stage.
Yeah, and like just didn't want to be, blasé about it, and just like we just wanted to keep making the bike park better and better and better, rather than just like taking money out. And
Right.
so yeah, I can't even remember how long it was before Rowan and I took a salary at all, but it was years.
It's it's supposed to be one of the best ways to set up a business is to go part time
Yeah.
and go into it. You're more likely to succeed because
Right.
the risk isn't all in one place.
Mm.
So you can survive things that don't go quite to plan.
Yeah,
So I think particularly going in as a couple, it
Yeah.
made a lot of sense that one of us had like at least a toe
Yeah.
dipped into something.
yeah,
We
Yeah.
also loved it.
yeah. And I
Like,
I
you
love
know-
my job outside of the bike park as well. So
Right.
so I wasn't like desperate to get out.
Yeah.
So that probably played into it.
Okay.
But yeah, building the team
Yeah.
started with 12. So day
And
one, 12
Day one
people.
was 12 people.
Yeah, including
employed by
us,
the
I
park.
think. I think it was including us, 12.
No, I was including me and Liz, but not
Okay.
you and Rowan.
Right.
Yeah. So that was basically like cafe staff, a few uplift drivers, 2 trail crew at that point. And
Shop mechanic.
yeah, shop mechanics and hire, and that was kind of it. No first aiders.
No.
What
we
was
were,
the,
we were all
um,
first, like we
Yeah.
were qualified first aid within our team of 12.
Okay. What was the response from brands and stuff when you started reaching out to them to get involved? Was it all positive? or
Yeah, it was really good. Like I was super lucky. Like I got people putting a good word for me, and I had relationships with brands already from the work that I've been doing.
Yeah.
The only one that was quite difficult was getting a bike brand on board.
Okay.
So we managed to get like Chris Porter at Mojo. Always got to give him a shout out because he was one of the first people to like really put his hand in his pocket and back it.
Mm.
And he believed in the vision, so that was cool. He was one of the first people to get involved. But yeah, getting a bike brand was actually quite hard.
Okay.
Because I was pitching from a booklet I didn't have a hill or anything I could actually show them, and no one had done this before, and I'm trying to tell them that we're going to build this sort of alpine style bike park in the UK, and I think maybe some people were like, yeah, whatever. But
what was actually the aim to get a bike brand in at that stage? Like, what were you trying to...
Yeah, we were trying to make the business viable. It was as simple as that. We were trying to bring brands in to make it financially viable to run the bike park.
So it would just be it's literally just numbers at that stage. It wasn't like...
Well, it was numbers, but it was also trying to find the right partners. And weirdly, like I remember saying to you, that I always knew it was going to be Trek.
Really?
Yeah, it's really weird, and I can't really say why, but I just always knew Trek was going to be our partner, even though they initially were not all over it. I just kind of felt that it was always going to be them. And then eventually they sort of became more interested, and then another big bike brand heard that they were interested, and then they became interested, maybe because Trek were interested.
Yeah.
And then we sort of almost got into a bit of a bidding war between the two. But like I've had that several times with brands in the past, and I'll always just cut it out. I don't think it's fair to anyone to do that. So I'll just make a decision and go, I'm going with this one.
Okay.
I don't want people just like stupidly pushing their prices up. And yeah, went with Trek. Just loved the people, loved the bikes.
They're brilliant.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Always been really supportive of us from the moment they came on board, really.
Yeah.
And we've been with them for 11 years.
From the start.
Isn't it?
From the very, very first day.
So at that point, they were a necessity.
Yeah.
You weren't taking any money. Everything was going back in. At what point did the business actually start to work as a business, as per intended on the financial?
From day one.
Yeah,
was it? Yeah.
It was. I mean, we made it through, which doesn't happen anymore, but we made it through the first winter with profit.
Right.
Because we were so popular and so fully booked.
Yeah.
Which we don't anymore.
Which we don't anymore.
Make profit.
We've got too much payroll to support through the winter now.
Yeah.
It's become a bit too seasonal.
But yeah, it made a profit, but
profit.
we obviously had massive debts. So it was making a profit and loss profit, but we had to repay.
Understood.
There's a lot of
debts.
A lot of loans still there to repay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where it works. Finding these sort of like new ways of, not new ways, I guess, but like other ways of bringing money in that doesn't rely on people in transits on the hill.
But it definitely relies on people in transits on a hill.
That's the bottom line.
The bottom line is it needs
people.
Needs people.
Yeah.
Needs the customers to want to come and enjoy it.
Yeah.
So how do you keep building that team out? I'm just fascinated by the team. I think because we met them and we were like, they're all just unique characters and this and that. But like, how do you keep doing that? And like, I've never built a business like that.
You realise that you are running understaffed. You shouldn't do it like this. This is the wrong way to staff a business. You realise you haven't got enough staff and you recruit.
Okay.
And then you get bigger and bigger. We just keep getting bigger. So we keep just recruiting. Come on, people.
It's incremental, isn't it? It's not like you went from 12 to 90 in one step. It's incremental, but you also realise that you don't have the skills that are required to do every job in the business, and you need to employ people who can do things better than you can. Like the guys who run the workshop and run the trail crew, they can all do that job way better than we can. So you have to sort of try and choose the right people and trust them to do a good job. It's really hard, and we've got it wrong loads of times, loads and loads of times. But I reckon the team we've got now is really awesome. Like we've really got the best team we've ever had right now.
Brilliant team.
And like setting the right culture is incredibly difficult. And we're not experts at that, are we? I think we sort of do our best.
But it is though, because the size of the company and stuff all that stuff is actually important because people do work there. And this is one thing that I find fascinating is it's run by mountain bikers, obviously we've established that, but people who do work there, some of them aren't mountain bike people, they're just doing a job in the cafe, for example, and whatnot. So it's got to be just a legit good place to work. They're not doing it for the passion of mountain biking, they're just rolling up to work. And do you know what I mean? So that culture is super important.
I think the hardest thing with the culture is taking it beyond your own team. So like I have my finance team, we're really tight, it's great fun, but I directly manage. So it's very easy to put your culture in the people that you spend a lot of time with. I think it's the people that I find it hard to get to or be confident. Our culture is going down to like the people, say casual workers and visitor welcome, who are standing on the tills, checking people in. That's the hard bit.
Yeah.
And that's been the transition from being a small company of 12 people to being a company of 90 people, is that you have to think about these things, because when there's 12, you're directly dealing with or managing all of those people. But there might be some employees who are like 2 or 3 levels removed from you, and you only catch up with them when you get your pass to go for a ride, or you just pop around to see the guys in hire or whatever.
Yeah.
So you're not dealing with them day to day. So that's when the general culture of the company becomes important. But it's like I said, we're no experts on it, and we've done our best, but we don't get it right all the time. And it's one of the people is definitely the hardest thing, isn't it?
The hardest.
Yeah.
The
Really?
hardest bit.
Yeah.
That's the hardest bit of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really hard to try and keep everybody happy at the same time as balancing keeping a profitable company, having happy customers, having a happy team. But you tend to find that if you've got a happy team, you've generally got happy customers. And if you've got happy customers, you're more likely to have a happy team as well. So you kind of have to try and keep on top of both.
Yeah. And has it always been like, from the initial stages of the business plan, has it always been a continuous sort of like, I don't know how to put it. Let's say, okay, we get to always fill in the days with X amount of people, then we need to add a bus. And do you just follow this pattern?
Pretty much.
That's fascinating. That's really cool.
You're like, oh, we filled this one repeatedly.
Understaffed, underbussed.
Understaffed on the bus, right? Up they go.
Now we need
Get
another
more.
bus.
Oh, yeah, and we probably spent 7 years doing that, just being like,
these little,
more, we need to do more, we need to do more,
I
we
say
need to do
little,
more.
but
And
not
then it's
little,
balanced
but-
out, I'd say, since COVID.
Yeah,
We've
it's
sort
pretty
of like, because COVID, after COVID, we had this insane year where there was just like gazillions of people wanting to ride all the time. And then with the economy and everything since then, it's just normalised a bit more.
Okay.
So there's less chasing your tail in terms of like constantly needing to put more buses on and more staff all the time. So it's been stable.
I'm interested in like your vision at the start. Now that we've been talking about it, like how does it match up with what you think now, and how has mountain biking matched up with what you thought it was going to do? Because you obviously thought a long way ahead.
It's so funny. It's a difficult one to answer. I think there's part of us that's really proud of what's become of it, and really surprised that it's got quite so large. I don't think anyone, any of the 4 of us would have thought it ever got this big. It's a bit of a beast at times. And part of you half likes the idea of a little tiny uplift running out of a
Tractor.
Yeah, it's quite
you know
funny.
what I mean? Like it's like that real.
We talk to the guys who run the other bike parks quite a lot, and I think sometimes they look at us and like, oh, you guys have got it so good because you've got a team and you can rely on your team and stuff. And then I think I sometimes look at them and go, oh, you guys have got it so good because it's all quite nice and simple. I think we sort of both think that we live in a dream world, but it's tough both ways, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think actually where we are now is best case scenario in my mind of where we could have got to.
Brilliant.
It's like probably, I was like, wow, if it like really went to where I think it could go, this is where it would be.
Right.
It is very close to what I'd imagined.
Wow.
But yeah, I'd say it probably is.
Did you ever think your checking in process would be better than the EasyJet checking in process? It is good, isn't
great.
it, man?
That's a compliment. Wow.
Yeah.
It is good.
It is good.
I never thought it was. When I turned up and I was like, what, you put the gates in? This is insane. I think it's really impressive. I think you should be very proud. I don't think I ever imagined a bike park like that long ago.
Yeah, I think because I worked at Whistler, so I spent 2 years working trail crew in Whistler.
Did you really? Yeah.
And I was heavily influenced by what I'd seen over there, and that was part of it. Like I came back from working in the trail crew there, and I remember I was living at my mum and dad's house when I got back and just being pretty bummed out, just like, oh my God, I've just had the best time of my life and now I'm in my mum and dad's house and I haven't got a job.
That's when you met me, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah.
No, I had my own place then.
No, I didn't. I actually lived in a cupboard in her house.
Yeah, I'm not even joking either.
Yeah, when we met, I was living in a shared house
Okay.
in Bristol. And when I left to go to Canada, Anna moved
took the
into my
room.
room.
Oh, right.
So when I came home to visit my friends in the house, this girl had moved in.
No way. That's
And,
how you met?
Yeah, that's how we met. And there was a cupboard in that house that was big enough to sleep in. So I lived in the cupboard for a while.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I had a half-sized door.
Yeah, anyway, I'd come back from Canada and was, a bit bummed out. And was just massively influenced by my time there, and just like, you know, everyone has either been or knows about Whistler and just how it's this dreamland, and the way that it's run professionally because it's a ski resort, and obviously that changes the way that they do everything and have to do everything. That's been a big driver.
I've got a question. Why is it that it's okay to queue for a chairlift, but it is not okay to queue for a bus? Like, do you know what I mean?
Fair.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Everyone's happy to sit in a queue for...
Who's that a question for? The audience.
That makes it sound like we're okay with queues. We are not. You know, we have like very defined parameters that we measure and everything. But it's really difficult because people say like, oh, you know, you guys need to look at Dovey or Revs and how they run their uplift. But the problem is that we've got 3 to 4 times as many people riding at our place, and it's not like we don't try our absolute best to load buses as fast as we can, and we've got loads of cool stuff going on at the moment to speed that up and make the road more direct and stuff. But the pure physics of, you know, 300 to 400 people trying to all get on buses at the same time is like a ski resort where you've got thousands of people all trying to get on a lift at the same time.
Yeah.
You can't have a system where that many people ride and can just float straight onto a bus and disappear, unless you only have much smaller numbers of people riding at the bike park. But then we used to get absolutely annihilated online for having a 3-month waiting list to be able to ride, so you kind of can't win.
Point when it was 3 months?
Yeah.
People would wait until midnight ticked over for the Saturdays and Sundays to come live.
But that was on much, you know, we were probably, I don't know what we were on, 100 people a day or something at that point. So
Okay.
I also enjoyed spending the day with you because I could just say the stupid question that comes in my mind, which often I think like is the internet. It's the first thought that you have. Why don't you tarmac the road? You know, like questions like that, like little, like things like that. I also spent some time with one of your transport managers and talking to him about the uplift and the amount of money that you have to spend on trucks and little things that you change.
Yeah.
Like, there is a reason for everything, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's all recorded.
Yeah. And we think about it. Like, I often talk to customers and they're like, have you ever thought of this? And I'm like, lots. Lots.
What's an example of something that you are overthinking that can't be changed? Or that you're trying to change? For example.
People hurting themselves on bikes.
Okay.
That's one.
Okay.
That's
What you think about?
That's what I spend most of my time thinking about. Yeah. Yeah, I hate people hurting themselves. And mountain biking is dangerous and people hurt themselves. And we've got the systems that you guys looked into while you were there, and we do statistical analysis on accidents and what trails they're happening on and what part of the trail they're happening on and what type of feature they happen on and this, that, and the other. We go really into it to try and, is there a hot spot? Do we need to do anything about that hot spot? But no matter how much you do, you can't stop it. You cannot stop people hurting themselves on their bikes, which is why we have Hendrik and Hugh and Alex and those guys working there. But that's the thing I overthink the most.
Really?
Like, I'm pretty stressed out most days just thinking, is there going to be a phone call in a minute? Is someone going to get hurt? You know, even though I know that we've done everything in our power to stop it, it will still happen. And it sucks. I just hate seeing people get hurt.
You have to put people in Zorbs or something if you want to ride at Bikepark Wales and your wheels stick out at the bottom.
It's a slippery slope because we end up having discussions, you know, like, should we not have this type of feature on the trails at all, or should we not do that? And then you're like, whoa, take a step back. It's mountain biking.
It is mountain biking. You don't want to nerf it.
What's a trail like? I mean, I guess in theory all trails are like, because you can, you know, make anything as dangerous as you want, if you, you know what I mean. But I guess when you start putting things like Vanta in, that's when you put in something there that maybe some people shouldn't ride. Does that make sense?
It does, but I don't think that's where the biggest accidents.
I was going to say,
Right.
I bet statistically that's not a dangerous trail.
Right.
No,
It's not, because people who attempt it can ride it.
They know,
Yeah, you're not gonna drop into Vanta like as a
You should.
Red Letter experience day. I've got me mountain bike experience.
So it's going to be more like reds.
It's blues more than reds.
Blues.
Yeah.
Okay.
Often they're, I guess the more people ride it, so you're going to statistically get more accidents because you have people riding at all levels. And a lot of it comes from people losing control at speed, and you can go fast.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can go fast possibly with less skill than you need to go that speed.
Which is why you then introduce things like trail qualifiers. And we get mixed feedback on those, because you get some customers saying, you know, the qualifier on whatever trail is too hard compared to the rest of the trail, or like, I can't do drops and the qualifier's a drop and the trail doesn't have many drops in it, so it's not fair. But we sort of just try and do our best, and they're there for a real reason. It's like people often get out of their depth. You know, you'll have people who are injured and they're like, oh man, I really shouldn't have been on this trail. And then you'll speak to them and they'll say that they pushed around the qualifier. And you're like, oh man, like, it's kind of the point. They're not there to be elitist or to try and embarrass people because they can't ride them. They're there to try and show people the skills that are required to ride the trail. And they
have time to think as well, to not just accidentally drop into a black run and then be in the thick of it and stuck. You know what I mean? Like, they're just like a...
And
think about what you're doing.
It can be funny when it goes wrong. You know, sometimes you'll be riding down a like 50 Shades or something, and you'll bump into a bunch of like older dudes sliding down on their bums, and it's like it's kind of funny, but at the same time you're like, man, this could go really wrong.
Man,
I find all of those like numbers that you have very interesting. It makes sense to me that like a blue would be the more dangerous trail.
Yeah.
I'm interested as a creator of a bike park and a lot of the runs that you've commissioned, I guess. I don't know what you would say. Like, when you're actually making them, what do you want them to be fast? I think of bike parks as very fast. In general.
It's a contentious question, that.
What do we want?
I guess I got lost in the question. My views of bike parks are often that they're very fast. Do you try and lower the speed to make them safer, or is the speed what the customers come for? Yeah,
you got to be careful about designing out the fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because the speed is. You're exactly right. Bike parks, especially in winter, when you're riding your local trails and they're bogging and you rarely get above 15 miles an hour. A bike park is one of the rare places you can go where the ground's firm and you can go 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So you've got to be really careful to not eliminate that reason why people come. But you use the statistics we're talking about, and you're like, if there's a particular spot where there are just more people sliding out or something, then maybe you need to manage the speed there by like making a berm turn slightly more uphill so that it just breaks the speed a little bit more into the next section or something. So we might make tweaks like that, but making fast, fun trails is definitely what people come for, and like it's not actually necessarily what we love the most either. Like, I prefer riding technical natural trails myself, but that's not, we survey our customers, we ask them what they want, and it's a mix, but people love flow trails.
They make you feel good, don't they?
They do.
Absolutely.
Make you feel fast.
But it's a, you got to balance it, haven't you? And like, we're going into a period now of, we're going to build some really natural more technical trails in the next phase.
Right.
Partly because we really want to.
Really excited about it.
But
is this common knowledge that this is happening?
No, not really. No, this is probably breaking news.
Cool.
But it's partly, actually, you've been asking about the sport changing over the years. The sport has changed in the last few years, and probably, you know, people talk to me about Dovey Bike Park a lot, and they've impacted the market in the same way that we have. And bikes getting more capable, bigger, 170mm travel, people's ability to ride more technical terrain has changed, and I'd say that's been more visible in the last like 3 to 4 years. So we now need to kind of slightly adapt to give those riders what they want.
Right.
What colour is that adaptation?
Red and black.
Red and black.
There you go.
Red and black.
That's interesting. Is that the maturity of a sport?
Yeah.
Is that it? Is that it reaching a point? Would you
I
say?
think so. Yeah.
Or a bike park?
Because there's more capable riders now than there used to be.
Yeah.
But there is still that other element of, you know, the riders who got into the sport during COVID, who were only a few years in, and that's like, there's still loads of new riders to the sport, and we get a lot of new riders at the bike park. We get loads,
really
which is cool. Yeah.
It's something that we struggle to balance, is being able to be accessible but also still relevant. And
that's honestly one of my biggest takeaways from doing the project at the park, was seeing the array of people. It's not what I would think as bike people. Does that make sense? You know, I don't want to be excluding people there, but like, I think especially when you work in the industry, you're caught in everyone you know rides, and they've all got like the latest kit and whatnot, and maybe they look a certain way, And then you go to a bike park and it's just like, oh my God, there's people here that have probably never really ridden before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is literally like a Disneyland. It's like people are just here to experience.
And we have to be really
sport.
careful that we don't become the bike park that's for people who are new to biking. Like we've got to
fine
remain
balance all the time.
It's been a vision from day one that we would be a broad church, that we'd be for everything from beginner rider to elite rider. And it's really difficult. It's much easier to specialise in one area and just really nail that. But yeah, we definitely are pretty excited for our next phase to focus on the upper end a bit more.
I think you achieve it really well. I think if my questions ever are directed in that way, it's only because it's I live in a bubble, and the only experience I have of like seeing the rest of the world is bike parks. It's like the same as every bike park I go to. I'm like, wow, this is like, get to see every level. I don't ride with every level of person.
Yeah, exactly.
In mountain biking, so I love it. I love seeing.
Like, how sick is it to go on an uplift bus and you've got a bloke who's going riding for his first time. You've got an Olly Wilkins, Taylor Vernon, and then a person who's sort of in the middle who's found it and is starting to just understand it and whatnot.
Yeah, he's moving on to reds. He's
that is one of the
all
best
going
bits
up to the same.
It's really cool to sit on the uplift bus and chat to people, listen to what they're saying, and just like the spectrum. Listen to what they're saying.
Listening to what they're saying. Some of the things you hear on uplift buses, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, we've been talking.
Mr. Potato Head glasses, or like a newspaper with holes cut in.
It's good because you can be completely anonymous. You just sit there and listen.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about doing like a little social series on our social media about bus banter and just like some of the stuff you hear on uplift buses. That's like, you want to hear stuff? They'll be like, Bikepark Wales costs like £1 billion to build and the owners make 50 million a year. Like, I wish.
What is like the most annoying thing that you hear? Like, what is a bit of a reoccurring thing? You know, maybe people say about the uplift, or the rate to come and ride. Like, what is it?
We get a lot of, why don't you put in a chairlift?
Yeah, why don't you put in a
chairlift? Come on, it's on my question list.
You're going on me.
I can't remember how much it costs.
10 million.
10 million to put in a chairlift.
Really?
Yeah. Then on rainy days, which it happens a lot, it will be horrendous and horrible. And then it's windy a lot, it'll be shut.
Yeah.
And it costs loads to run.
And you'd have to close it for 2 months a year for maintenance, and you don't have a second chairlift that you can go to when that one's closed.
Yeah.
You just simply haven't got the numbers to make it work. Like skiing, Whistler can have 30,000 skiers in a day.
Okay.
And we get 80-ish thousand riders a year. So the economics don't add up. You'd never pay it off. So it just wouldn't work.
The tarmac in question blew my mind.
Yeah.
When I asked, I think it was maybe you or someone else, I asked about how much it would cost to tarmac the uplift road, and then just when you hear the numbers, you're just like, that's quite a lot of years of business just to pay off just the tarmac and the drainage.
God, how much? What are we talking?
So it's about just tarmacking would be north of £1 million, but that's not the expensive bit. The expensive bit is all of the drainage, because there's new drainage laws in place, and you have to put these basically like motorway style drainage system in place, and that would probably be another £1 million.
Right, so a couple of milli.
Couple of £1 just to tarmac the uplift road. But we have been looking into other ways of improving the surface, and we're going to trial something soon.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just all of it. I just find it fascinating because all of it comes with a cost. So then obviously if you're going to tarmac the road, you have to close the road, or you have to find another way around. Just everything is just...
Yeah, so it's all complicated. And I'd say your question about what's the most irritating thing is it's probably like people saying that the amount we charge to ride is too much. Because it's what it costs, and I get it. Like, it's £54 to ride now, and like people are thinking, wow, when I used to do Dragon Uplift days it was £35, but there was no first aid, the insurance was different, they didn't pay rent on the land, they didn't have to maintain the trails, didn't have to build the trails, didn't have to manage the road, and all the stuff, and it is just a sad fact that is simply what it costs to run the bike park. And sometimes the like vehemence of people on social media about what it costs, it really upsets me. It's like, people have called us pretty nasty names and probably think that we're swanning around in speedboats all day, but we make a reasonable living, we do pretty well. but we're not
But
millionaires.
there's nothing wrong with that, though. That's obviously.
Yeah, I just feel like
business, right?
sometimes it's directed at the
that's
wrong
what it
people.
is.
You're
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
you know, bike brands are making huge money.
Yeah.
There are definitely bike shops that make way more than we do, and people don't seem to get angry at bike brands or whatever. It's just
Wonder why that is.
I think it's because
Psychology of that.
it's biking, it's not bikes. I think that's what it is. I think it's because people feel like we're charging for them to access their love.
Yeah.
And you can't obviously go and do that in your woods for free. And that's my guess. I don't
I
know.
always think what you get paid, even as if you're a marketing manager in a bike company versus a washing machine company.
Yeah.
Like, just because bikes are fun,
Yeah.
you've got this sort of like job that's kind of cool. You get to go to races and stuff. If you were the same role in a washing machine company,
you'd be
balling out of control, helis.
True, yeah.
You'd be Zanussi, you'd be going to the washing machine shows, you'd have a suit, taking people out on speedboats.
Smell good.
Like, there definitely, it does hinder you being in an industry where it's based around fun.
Yeah. And it's done for love, and it is for us, and unfortunately that's kind of just how our industry is. And it's like it'd be the same in our company. Like if you were a marketing manager in our company, you won't earn the same as you would if you were a marketing manager at Zanussi.
Yeah.
And I wish it wasn't that way. I wish we could pay them the Zanussi wages, but uplift tickets would be a lot more expensive, unfortunately, if we did.
Zanussi got a free ad, by the way. Doug, can you bleep it out?
He's not listening anyway. Oh, you are actually listening. That's cool. Oh dear.
This episode is brought to you by INVISIFRAME. Now, I've just finished up building my new bike, and the very first thing I did was get my INVISIFRAME PPF ordered and fitted. In fact, I was terrified to even touch my jet ski custom Focus without it, I'll be honest. Now it's done, I'm happy hurtling down the rockiest of tracks without a care in the world, as I know my pride and joy is protected. The cool thing about INVISIFRAME is you can't tell. The kits are made to measure and you can't see it even has one on. In the meantime, it's protecting my two-wheeled investment, and I have the peace of mind that it will be worth more should I ever come to sell it. I mean, I don't think I will, but yeah. How do I get a kit, I hear you ask? Well, I simply visited invisiframe.co.uk and searched for my bike and model. I had a kit shipped to my door days later. Not only that, I have a secret code which gave me a 15% discount. And I'm willing to share it with companionship members because I'm a really, really nice guy. Enter The Ride Companion, all lowercase, at checkout and receive, that's right, 15% off your order. And that goes for more than just frame protection too. INVISIFRAME make PPF for forks, cranks and loads of other great products to keep your bike looking great. Head to invisiframe.co.uk and The Ride Companion for 15% off your order. Thanks, INVISIFRAME. Back to the show.
The first aid team as well, that was something that I absolutely found incredible.
Did anybody watch the whole edit?
I watched the whole edit.
What do your YouTube statistics say?
Yeah.
Did anybody make it through the whole kit
I
back?
think so. It is
good.
It's interesting, isn't it? You know, maybe we might have spent a little bit too long going through the bags. But it was actually super interesting.
Yeah.
You know, learning about all that equipment and stuff.
I mean, I hope it comes across. I've been to your bike park a lot of times, and then those 2 days I learnt more, and hopefully that just alone comes across. Like I thought it was really
I learnt
cool.
more.
There you go, wicked. But there's a lot of things, you know, and I do think about stuff, but I also am on an uplift bus, excited about my next run. So
and that's how it should be.
Don't
you shouldn't be thinking about other stuff. That's how we want it to be. We don't want you to be thinking, "Oh, I'm glad that Hendrik's got a pelvic girdle in his."
Ringing ahead. Think you're going to Vanta, Hendrik.
But that's exactly how we want it to be. That you don't think about, oh, the road's very smooth today. You're probably not thinking that. You probably think it's very bumpy. But that's how we want it to be, isn't it?
Yeah.
And yeah, the medic team, I'm so proud of that.
Yeah, that's
They're
like
amazing.
really cool.
Yeah.
What made that decision to bring that in-house?
I mean, it's always been in-house.
Has it? There's always been
Yeah,
someone.
there's always been first aid.
Okay.
But the level at which we operate has just, as we've got bigger, we've just stepped it up, haven't we? We started getting FRAC 3 qualified, so that's first responder level.
Right.
Probably about
4 or 5 years
4 or
ago.
5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just built from there, and the people that we get in have more experience and therefore can offer more. And then, you know, we quite often we need this bit of kit for this reason.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
we're really supportive.
And being
of our
riders,
team.
it's just like, why wouldn't you? You know, you're like, if someone's hurt themselves badly, we want them to have the best possible outcome.
Yeah.
And like we've all been hurt before and had friends that have been hurt or whatever, and it's just not how you want your day to end, is it? So it's just something that we believe in. It's not a financial or brand focused thing. It's just we want people to be looked after, and luckily we've had people in our team who've helped us to drive it forwards and make it better and better, and we've invested in it. And yeah, those guys are absolute heroes, and like Hugh, who you met.
Oh yeah, hero.
Amazing dude.
Yeah. Everyone, to be honest. The impact on the town and community must be quite. Did you? Was that in the business plan? Okay, they're going to start building hotels or whatever.
We had to write about it, didn't we?
It is really cool, that, isn't it? Like the impact that's had on
Yep.
the town, and I mean, even going down to where we stayed, like that was a company that have. You know, they've basically built their business model on Bikepark Wales. It's like, we have houses for mountain bikers. Like, did you foresee that happening?
To a degree, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
we hoped it would.
We had planning originally for camping and stuff on site that we never put in, partly because we were overwhelmed with opening a bike park and decided that camping paths was a step too far.
Right.
But it had the upside of giving the local community the time to put in Airbnbs and set up businesses that then we can support.
Yeah.
The data from the local authority,
it's been great.
It suggests there's about 50 accommodation providers that basically are there to support our customers. It's 50 companies, Airbnbs, campsites.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
who are thriving from it. And then there's obviously restaurants. Apparently taxi firms do really well from it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get awesome feedback from the local community, which is great.
Keys to City? Keys to Merthyr?
Maybe one day.
Gold Star?
Gold Star. You're allowed them, you're not Welsh. No
chance.
But yeah, the local authority and local community have been amazing. Like when we started the bike park, I remember a friend of yours was like, why are you starting something in Merthyr? It's going to get burnt down. It was really like, you're mad. And we were like, oh God, we made this huge mistake. But no, the community's been awesome.
Yeah.
Been super supportive, and hopefully we give to them what they've given to us as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
Do you have any issues though with bad aspects of it, community-wise, like people riding trails that they shouldn't, sneakies?
Yeah, a little bit of that.
Yeah,
a little bit of that. Not massively.
Okay.
Sometimes like kids and stuff, you might get like kids from Merthyr coming out with no helmets on and riding without a pass and stuff, and that's like a bit of a stress because you've got to protect your product, but also you don't want someone crashing with no helmet on and they've not signed your waiver and they've not listened to your signage or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, like, antisocial behaviours, had a bit of dogging, didn't we?
Oh yeah. How come you know so much about that?
Mark interrupted a couple.
I did, yeah.
Did you? Yeah. With Purple Fiesta. Callback, we call that.
Yeah, when we first opened, the site was a dogging site. That's what it was best known for.
No way.
So when we were building the place, they were not happy about losing their hotspot.
I bet.
So it was going on all the time.
Strange mix of emotions, the sort of like general dogging emotion and unhappiness, isn't it? Like I can't imagine experiencing it at the same time.
Yeah.
If anybody's listening from abroad, they probably won't know what dogging is.
No.
Can you give us an overview,
So
please, Martin?
I'm going to name drop here because I've had this conversation with Nicholas Fuyo.
Okay.
Have you really?
Yeah. I got out of a
Keen dogger.
Yeah. I got out of an uplift vehicle once, and we were dropped in a lay-by, and it was just I just said a bit like a dogging lay-by because it was dirty and whatever. And he's like, what is dogging? And I explained to him what dogging was, and he was fascinated.
They don't have it in France. Chienning. Really? No.
But yeah, he'd never heard of it, so I don't think it's a big thing around Nice.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, so it's when couples meet around cars and
Enjoy themselves.
Enjoy themselves.
Yeah, there's something promiscuous about it, isn't there? There's something random and promiscuous. It's not just couples meeting. That sounds like a romantic evening.
No, there's multiple people involved. Some inside the vehicle, some outside.
Yeah.
But yeah, we disturbed a couple of dudes one night as we were driving out of the bike park. And I just like, I don't know.
You'd had enough.
I'd had enough of it.
Had enough.
Really?
And I was
Long
like,
day as well.
I was like, yeah, we're trying to start a bike park here, and this is going on our entrance road. So I was like, I'm stopping. I'm getting out.
And I was like, don't get out.
Yeah, she's
don't
like,
get out. Don't get out.
I'm like, no. So I like pulled over to this fully steamed up vehicle, and I'm like knocking on the window, and I'm like, I'm calling the police. I'm calling the police. And there's no response. I was like, if you don't leave now, I'm calling the police. So I'm actually dialing the police. And then a pillow just gets thrown from the back of the car into the front of the car. And this bloke climbs over the seats and just like wipes a little patch against the steamed up window and tries to.
So you've actually combined unhappiness and dogging.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did it.
There you go.
Well done. Congrats. That's so funny.
I'd love to say it solved the problem, but it took quite a few years,
Took a
didn't it?
while. I had a
Yeah.
couple of girls drive up and go, where's the dogging site? I'm like, yeah, not
Really?
here anymore.
How can you redirect it? You know, like
Yeah.
business redirection.
Yeah.
You little
Not
sign.
here.
Dovey. Is it Dovey?
I love the idea of that. Yeah. Well, I've got so many dogging stories actually. It's quite British, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It is, yeah.
It's quite a grimy thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is, yeah. You know Wisley Trails?
Yeah.
The very,
Is that our dogging spot? Yeah, I can imagine that.
There,
yeah, I can imagine that.
I took Deeks there once. It was fascinating. It's really interesting. We started doing, because you don't know the rules. The rules
Yeah.
are different.
There's
I
different
think
flashes and stuff, isn't there?
Exactly,
I mean, different
yeah.
things.
Interior light.
Right.
Okay.
I was like Googling it. Deeks was just loving it, flashing the interior light. I was Googling what it means. It means people want to come and watch. And as we were sat there, like like moths to a flame,
Yeah.
came up to the transporter. So it does work. There are like...
Oh,
it's
people
like a-
came over.
Yeah, it's like a language, yeah.
They were so disappointed when they got
What? Yeah.
Just Deeks.
It's funny, eh? Very strange. So you got rid of the dogging?
Yeah.
I
Yeah, we
mean, you
managed
must
to do
have
that.
learnt some crazy things over the period of the last... It's a bit of a difficult question, isn't it? But there must have been some
Yeah.
big learning experiences over the last 11 years.
Yeah.
What is the
So-
biggest like catastrophe that you've
Oh, man.
come out of? Smelling of roses. Really?
Not sure we come out smelling of roses of any of
Okay.
them, but
Yeah.
we were actually talking about this on the way here, weren't we? We were
Yeah.
like, there have been so many, maybe not catastrophes, but
Mm.
like major incidents,
Yeah.
you know, to everything from problems with sewage, which I
Right.
won't go into much further, to, you know, obviously people having bad accidents, to
Yeah.
staffing crises, to COVID, to massive regulatory issues.
Yeah, what did you do through COVID?
Struggled.
close?
Struggled. No. Well, yeah, we were closed for
Yeah, we shut for loads
most
of it.
10 months.
Did you? Yeah.
And that was horrendous.
Yeah, I can
It's
imagine.
not worth going into much detail, but
No.
we were
You,
at home
you
with two
found
kids.
it really bad. I
Yeah.
had my usual sunny, annoying
Yeah.
attitude and was like, I'm alive!
Yeah, she was like really happy during COVID because remember it's good weather as well, and I was
Yeah.
pissed off with it because I was like, why are you so happy? The world's dying and we're struggling.
And I was like, I'm alive. That's furlough, and I'm riding my bike.
Yeah,
Jeez, yeah.
yeah, but yeah, like all other businesses, we just kind of struggled through, and I spent loads of time lobbying. I've never been so political in my life. I was like lobbying the government to try and let us open because we got pulled in with basically like snooker halls and
Did you?
theatres. So whenever they got closed, we got closed, and we were like, we're outside, we're
Yeah.
a sporting activity, and they were like, no, you're not.
Past the leisure centre, didn't we?
Yeah. So we were caught by every possible lockdown, and we even had our own Merthyr lockdown. We had
The English
Wales
lockdown
lockdown
was really
Yeah.
irritating.
because like 90% of our customers come from England.
Yeah.
And there was a big
They were
period
open.
where England was a free for all and
Yeah.
Wales was shut, and they were literally like patrolling the borders.
Yeah.
So like I remember driving from home because we lived like 10 miles across the border. No, sorry, 10 meters across the border into England. And you'd drive into Wales to go to work, and it felt like you're breaking the law.
Yeah.
And there'd be like police patrolling and stuff.
Wild time.
So yeah, that wasn't
It's
fun.
weird, isn't it?
Yeah. Wild time.
I sometimes think back about they've got a main road that runs like quite close to our house, and in COVID you could just walk along the road. There's
Yeah,
no cars.
No cars.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. I was
Yeah.
like,
Wild
I'd probably
time.
say the biggest lesson I've learned is don't give up.
Nice.
Just frickin' push on through.
Yeah.
You'll find a way.
Yeah.
I think we've
my
all
my
learned that.
life motto, isn't it? I think
Yeah.
There's always a solution.
We've got a Winston
Was
Churchill.
there ever sorry to interrupt
Got a
you.
Winston Churchill sticker on our extractor fan at home. Never, never, never give up.
Nice.
Wicked.
Was there ever obviously it's a cool thing as well to be a couple and have gone through this.
Mm-hmm.
Quite testing at times.
We were chatting about this quite a lot. I couldn't think of anyone I'd rather work with. Like, he's great to work with. He's
Really?
brilliant. Yeah.
She's all right, yeah. This is a hostage situation. No, it is good.
Yeah.
It's like, it's amazing but it's the only downside is that it's all consuming. Like, Bikepark Wales is utterly meshed into our lives, and we're talking about it while we're washing up in the evening. It slips up in conversation when we're driving all the time, and we are constantly analysing, deciding, making decisions, talking about the next move. So it's like, it's our life massively, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah,
But
it is. But I also love it.
It's not
So
like,
it's kind of weird. It's a weird combination of work and not work.
yeah. It's not like it's a boring thing. It's not like we run this business and it's like selling brown envelopes or something.
It's a new
yeah.
Stop plugging them.
Sorry. Go for that marketing manager role.
Yeah. Sponsorship. On a wash machine in the corner one time. What's the future look like? And is there anything we've not covered yet that you think, especially from the backstory up into present day, is there anything you think that we've not covered that people would be surprised to know about Bikepark Wales or yourselves?
Dogging was good. Nice little tangent that was. If you've got any more like that.
I've got lots of stories, but probably not.
Who's the most famous person that's been to the bike park?
That's a great question.
Great, yeah.
I know the answer as well.
Do you?
I think I know.
I've already asked.
Who do you think it is?
Gillian Anderson.
Look, that's a good answer. It's probably not the one I was going to give, but that's probably right, actually. I was going to say Carrie Hart or Lance Stroll.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's a good Lance Stroll story, actually, isn't there? So Lance Stroll emailed the bike park and just said, Hi, I'm Lance Stroll. I want to come and ride at your bike park. Because he's pretty into bikes.
Okay.
Remember, he broke both of his wrists
He
a couple
did,
of
yeah.
years ago. And he did
I only know
bike.
that because of Drive to Survive, obviously, but yeah.
But yeah, he just emailed in and was like, I'd like to come.
Is that Bikepark Wales?
And no, it wasn't. And I'd like to ride, but I want to come in my helicopter. Do you have somewhere that you can land a helicopter? And we had this guy working for us at the time who was a bit rogue, and he didn't tell us that Lance Stroll had been in contact. And he arranged privately to go and pick up Lance Stroll from, I think it was the football club or the rugby club in Merthyr. So he landed his chopper at the football ground, and this guy picked him up in his Golf, his like Golf GTI with one of those Toy Story characters dangling off the back of it, like all the way down. And he went and picked up Lance and like gave him a private taxi to the bike park. And we didn't know until he turned up. And I have to admit, I didn't know who Lance Stroll was at the time either. I was like, I'd watched Drive to Survive now, so I now know who he is, but I didn't. And he came and he rode for like 2 hours. He ate his own food in a box in a cafe, which you're not allowed to do. And then got a lift back in the Golf and flew off in his chopper.
No way.
Yeah, rode for like 2 hours. I don't even know where he came from. I don't know whether he was in the country or what. I've no idea.
Yeah, the guy never told her. Like the
Really?
guy who was on reception was like, sweet. The police had gone and the deed was done. He was like, oh yeah, by the way.
Yeah. So yeah, they're like the
You
mainstream.
pay, yeah.
I guess. I don't even know. Probably. They're the mainstream famous
That's
people.
brilliant.
But like, it's been amazing over the years, the riders that we've had. Like, you know.
I remember Carrie Hart visiting, and I was nowhere near. But I just remember seeing it and being like, oh my God.
Yeah, Pink was doing a concert in,
that's right,
in Cardiff.
Yeah.
And he popped up for the day to ride. And he was cool.
So
he was
sick.
really cool. And he just spoke about, he's like, my missus is doing a gig in town.
Really?
And it's like, yeah, that's Pink playing at the Principality Stadium. But yeah, and then riders has been amazing. It's been so cool to ride with, you know, all of your idols from when you were a kid. It's been brilliant. I think Greg Minnaar's one of the most memorable for me.
Okay.
Like, he was just really lovely and seemed to really enjoy himself. Like, he was, I don't know whether he hadn't ridden for a while or something, but he was just buzzing to ride, so that was great. And over the years, I actually think Petey is the rider that's impressed me the most on the trails. And this was like more recently, like 2 years ago.
Right.
So I've seen, you know, from Andrea Leconda guy to Greg Minnaar.
Yeah.
But Petey just still never ceases to amaze me at how amazing he is at bikes. Like, he's just freaking incredible. You know, like taking lines that I've never seen anyone take before, even when he's maybe ridden the trail once. It's like, He's definitely got skills.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. On that note, how did Laurie and Vanta come about? Because that was a very cool project, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. That actually came about from Dunk Ferris again. So, I think Dunk knew someone at Red Bull. They started chatting, just threw the idea out about collabing on a trail.
Yeah.
Wanted to do it with a Red Bull athlete, and obviously Laurie's pretty local to us, and he rides at the park a bit. And Dunk knows Laurie. And it just kind of built from there. It kind of was just like from a grain of an idea, and it sort of grew from that. And then, created this amazing trail. Like, the vision was shared between Laurie and Dunk predominantly. Wanted to build something that wasn't just a straightforward jump line, because it's got some pretty unique features on it.
Yeah.
And it's not a typical jump line. And it's got that kind of downhill influence as well. It's not just like straight senders. It's got techie jumps, and it's got like the rock table and hips and stuff in it as well. Built this awesome line, and then he did his sound of speed edit on it. And then after that, we were just kind of like, well, what are we going to do with the trail now? We were always going to open it to the public, but I think it was Nick, our marketing manager at the time, was like, should we just have a jam? And we did the first one that year, and it was pretty cool. And then we did a second one and decided to throw in a bit of prize money and have like a voted competition for just, we always want to keep it low key. We don't want it to become, a Crankworx style judged event or anything like that. It always needs to remain just as a jam format. And we're going to evolve it, and we are going to be doing some significant work on it this year.
Okay.
With Red Bull.
Nice.
And Vanta Jam will be back next year, but the trail's going to be very different.
Right.
So,
knowing the processes of building stuff, is it let's say, just for example, we're like, right, we're doing a ride companion trail.
Mm-hmm.
What's the process like now?
Yeah.
Could you just do it, or do you have to go through the planning and this and that?
That is a good question, especially right now. So you have to have planning permission.
Yeah.
You can't just go and build a trail. But the way we manage it is we put planning permission in batches. So we'll probably put 20 trails at a time in for planning.
Right.
And we've got a planning application which we're hoping will be determined next week,
Mm-hmm.
which has got, I think, 30-something trails on it, which is like the next big push.
Okay.
But that process is enormous. Like, Rowan's been wading through that for the best part of 2 years. Ecological surveys, again, coal mining risk assessments, because our hill's got coal mines all underneath it, full of shafts and stuff, so you've got to be really careful about where you dig holes. Liaison with the landowner, we've had to renegotiate our lease with our landowner to get permission to build these trails.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to go through this big old process, and then you've got planning permission for a bunch of lines on a hill, but that's all they are at that point, lines on a hill. And then you go through the detailed design of how do you want to turn that line into whatever it's going to be, whether that's a Blue Flow trail or a Black Tech trail or a Vanta type trail.
Right.
And there'll be a big discussion between whoever's involved, whether that's a brand or just internally. What do we want this trail to be like?
Would you like to do more of that stuff, like as the park owner? Is having more branded trails
to an extent? Yeah, it's like we're quite careful about it because trails live forever, and brand partnerships don't. So we don't really like putting a brand name on a trail.
Okay.
Like there isn't a Trek trail at the bike park.
Mm.
So we don't really let brands name trails, but we let them partner with us on a trail. And we like it if it's like authentic and real. If it's just like stick a badge on a trail and it's our trail, it's kind of like, what's the point? But something like Vanta, which was a true collaboration project with Red Bull, it's great. And they have access to, the athletes and obviously all of the media reach that they've got as well. It's cool to work with a company like that.
It was actually one of our listener questions was how much a trail costs. I know it's obviously a very broad question, but it probably is. It is an important one, isn't it?
Yep.
It's like they cost a lot more than you think, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It depends a lot on. I mean, they're so varied. If they're stoned a lot, they're a lot more expensive than if they're not.
But it can be hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
I think just that alone is quite useful to know, isn't it? If
our most expensive trails are hundreds of thousands to build.
That's crazy.
That's
You're
crazy
riding down something that's the price of a house.
And and I think it's probably difficult from the outside to just be like, well, how is that possible? I can go out the woods and build one for free.
Yeah.
But it's like there's just so much involved in it, and that doesn't even include the costs of planning. which can be massively expensive in itself. But
And maintaining.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and I guess the trail's always costing more.
Yeah.
In a way, it's not like it's a dumb thing and you walk away, is it?
And the more you add, the more you've got to look after. Therefore, the more people you need, and the more machinery you need, and the more stone you've got to buy. And we ran some sums on the drive down here just to work it out. But what was it to just maintain the trails?
$500,000.
Yeah, just to maintain them.
A year?
Every year. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and that doesn't include building new ones.
Right.
What views do you have on sort of like illegal trails? Because it's so funny. Like
we never ride them.
I mean, it's always such a like. It never works perfect, and like what you're dealing with is like you're creating like a whole ecosystem, and you're looking after the trails. Like our sport is actually man-made completely, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we ride them all the time. It would be, of course, everyone does.
Yeah.
And I think they all mesh together with bike parks, and they all have their place. Like, I shouldn't encourage riding illegal trails, obviously, but we all know that everybody does it, and they've got their own unique style and feel, and it's awesome, and we love it. But bike parks take a place in that ecosystem, don't they? They're not the same thing. Riding, one of the well-known South Wales riding spots is not the same as going to Bikepark Wales. You get a different thing from each one, and they're all part of what makes biking great. One's not better than the other.
Totally. You get like, there's always friction with an illegal spot. There's always someone doing work, and there's always some people just taking. And I feel like you kind of like actually manage all of that in a bike park. It's something you don't ever normally think about.
It's more control, isn't it? So we have the good thing is you have rights. So obviously you've got a right to do what you're doing. As long as you follow the process, you're allowed to do it. It's quite nice to be able to build stuff without looking over your shoulder all the time.
Yeah.
We all know that feeling.
Yeah.
It's nice as a rider to know you're riding down something that's, you're not going to come up against something really unexpected on a new trail.
Not going to be someone walking up it.
Yeah.
I was chatting to someone who runs one of the other bike parks, and we both realised that we both quite enjoy a bit of clandestine trail building from time to time.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of a release, and just like not having to follow process and this, that and the other.
I've just got back from building a trail in Sicily, at Bikepark Sicily, and there was just this one moment. Most of the time we were in separate machines, but there was three of us all digging a turn, and someone walked past, and all of us stopped because all of us were reacting as if it was an illegal trail. It really, like, once we realised what it was, we were pissing us.
It's nice to not have that feeling of trying to be quiet or whatever it is.
Loving your tools and vicious.
Exactly. I did once. I was building a trail somewhere, and I'd got a new mattock, and it had been delivered from Amazon, and it came in like black cling wrap, and I came across a officer of the estate and just like threw it in the hedge. It was like I'm just walking along, and then I couldn't find the bloody thing. And it basically looked like I'd thrown a body in the woods. I spent ages trying to find this like cling wrapped body shaped thing in the ground with my address on. That was the other thing. I was just like, oh no.
That was well good.
What does the future look like for the bike park? You've alluded to the fact that there might be some new trails coming in the next, couple of years, let's say.
Yep.
But what is your vision for Bikepark Wales from now on? What would you want to see happen? Other than retirement.
I mean, more trails is always what we're going to be interested in.
Yeah.
More trails, faster uplift.
Right.
Giving riders what they want.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah, and you do this a lot, right? You're always doing questionnaires, finding out what people want, and then reacting to that, basically.
Yeah. It's kind of focusing on bread and butter, really.
Yeah.
Great trails, great uplift. Try and give people a good customer experience. Always trying to polish the edges and just trying to make it
polishing
polish
something
a
else.
But yeah, I'd say more of the same, but just trying to make it better all the time. Just continual improvement. But with trails being the most exciting bit for everyone, and there'll be a lot more. We're getting into a period of building more trails faster.
Okay.
We've kind of up the size of our team. We bought new machines. The guys were up in Bolton buying a new machine last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, new track dumper. We've got a new excavator coming.
Right.
They've got a nice new VW
He's
Touran or whatever it is the
Johnny's
boys
very
bought.
excited about this.
A new truck.
It's a new for towing machines around the hill, and they told me what they bought, and it was like a VW Touran or something, and I'm picturing this like white VW with cream seats, and I'm like, you bought a what? But they're very proud of it, and it's black, so it's okay.
Okay, cool. It's on brand.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did we get any other listener questions or anything?
We got lots of listener questions.
Okay.
I quite like the quick fire ones. Like we got one was like what the most popular trail was.
Yep.
I find that interesting.
60 pod.
Yeah, I was
Six
gonna
to
say
pod.
Yep.
Six to pod.
What's your personal favourite laps?
I like either Roots or Vicious Valley into Surfing Bird.
And for me, it would be Blackadder to Merthyr Rocks, which is a mix of a
I wish I
black
could
jump
remember
trail
them.
into a blue tech trail.
Right. Okay.
Real mix.
I don't remember tracks at all anyway, whether they've got names or not. I feel like I ride blind
Yeah.
99% of the time.
That's what I do mostly.
Yeah, I can't remember any of them.
I'd love to be a trail builder. How do you get a job as one?
Ooh, great question.
The guys have all got into it in really different ways, haven't they? Like Jason, who you met,
Yeah.
he started as a volunteer before we'd even opened. Like he gave weeks and weeks of his
Yeah.
time
Wow.
for free before we were a trading company. And obviously we were like, well, as soon as we can give you a job, you got one. So he got him that way. Quite a few of them have been professional trail builders somewhere else before they
Yeah.
come. So they already come pre-made with their excavator skills. Like Harry, who was working on Vanta when you came up, he worked for On Track, which was the company that Rowan owned, building trails. One of them, Franco, he built a trail network, an illegal trail network. Actually, it's not illegal anymore. I think it's kind of legal.
Okay.
He built a trail network locally and got really well known for it. And we were hiring, and everybody was just like, you have to hire this guy, Franco.
Yeah.
We'd never met Franco at this point.
Really?
But like, so many people were like, Franco is your man. Like, and
He's
he basically
cool.
had got the job before he even came for the interview.
Really?
He
He's
got
cool,
interviewed
man.
by the
Great
trail crew
Franco
manager.
is.
And
I
they
think
were
it
like,
was Jack too that maybe
Jack,
didn't even ride.
Yeah, Jack was a roofer.
Yeah.
And
And then now he loves
I think
biking.
he rode when he was younger, but he stopped playing. I think he played rugby or something.
Yeah.
But he's got back into it, and he'd been riding back on his bike for like a year, and he was riding Vanta.
Crazy.
So yeah, like, fair play.
Yeah, those
That's
bikes
cool.
have got some balls, haven't they?
Yeah.
Trail crew brings you on quite quickly, I think, on your riding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
We got one about conservation demands from Stuff of Martinot. It was kind of just, I guess, some of the stuff that you touched on earlier, but what kind of things do you have to go through?
We have to look at things like ground nesting birds and
Yeah.
great crested newts and have
Yep.
ecological surveys for putting most stuff in.
Yeah, we have to create. We've got like a wildlife protection plan, a habitat management plan. You have to put all these processes in place to protect trees. You have to have a water management plan. So you have to know how to mitigate any damage. But before you can put a spade in the ground, you've got to do surveys, etc. And you can only build at certain times of the year. So you're not supposed to build between March and the end of September because of nesting birds. And if you build and the annoying thing is that's when you need to be building because it's the only time it's dry and it's so much more efficient.
It's trail clearing. isn't
Yeah.
it?
So basically you can do it.
Right.
Yeah, if you've cleared it, you can build in it.
Right.
You have to have cleared it.
Yeah, you can basically
Okay.
go through and trim the ground in February and come
Okay.
back and build in May. Or you can build during the season, but you have to have an ecologist come and walk in front of you basically, which we're going to have to do this summer because we had delays with planning, so we're going to be breaking ground probably in May or June. So it means that we'll have to have an ecologist ahead of the team checking, and if we find anything we won't be able to continue, we'll have to move to another trail or do something else.
There's obviously the famous story with Revs and the tree issue. Is that
Well, we've had it and
Yeah.
they clear felt before we opened.
Yeah, we
Right.
had it.
The larch
Okay.
has all gone.
Yeah, it was
Was
30. Yeah, it was
Phytophthora,
Phytophthora
wasn't it?
more 13 years ago.
right?
We were really lucky, weren't we? Well,
Yeah.
unlucky that we had it. But yeah, they felled all the trees before we opened, and fair play to forestry commissioners they were then. They knew that we were about to start a business, and if they were going to be clear felling the vast majority of our hill while we were operational, it would have been a nightmare.
Right.
So they prioritised it, and obviously we were gutted because when we took the site on, there were massive patches of clear fell.
Yeah.
So we had this really, it was grim, wasn't it?
It was grim. And larch is like one of the best trees.
So
Yeah.
nice to
Love
ride
riding
through.
under a larch.
Yeah. So yeah, we've had that disease, but it is a worry that if like, you know, Scots pine or Douglas fir or whatever got a disease, that we could be.
Like the pine beetle.
Yeah, the pine beetle. There's all these things that could basically wipe you out. Fires, massive wind blow events that could blow the whole forest down. So you have to think about all these things and try and plan for them by putting fire breaks in and all these sort of things.
Yeah, we had a fire on the other side of the hill, didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
This year. It's the closest one to the park that we've ever had, and that was quite nerve-wracking. The fire brigade couldn't put it out.
Yeah,
really.
It went on for days and days, and it was getting closer and closer.
Hard to imagine
the bike park.
at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah,
You'd have a fire.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah. Well, we had like a few weeks ago. It snowed at the bike park, and then the next day there was a massive fire next to the bike park.
Wow.
Because normally you get like bad weather season, you get a little period where there's not so many risks, and then you get fire season, and it was like snow yesterday, fire today, and it's like, give us a break. There's always something.
Yeah.
I went away riding with some mates last year, and I just got to the chalet, and I literally finished the travel, sat down, website's gone down. So I spent like 3 hours trying to get that sorted. Then the fire started, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm trying to have a holiday, and we've got an actual fire going on
fire to put out.
and a website down.
Jeez.
Yeah.
It's constant,
Yep.
It's constant.
Recommend it to someone else? Start up
Yeah.
a bike park?
It's
Absolutely not. It's awful.
we get loads of people contact
Do you help
us
out a
'cause
lot of
they're
them?
Yeah,
Do you do any
loads of
consulting
people.
and stuff?
Not do consulting, but loads of people will email us and ask us where to get insurance and that kind of thing. And we used to be way more protective about it than we are now.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're like, you know, smaller ones that are like tend to be like city or town bike parks, and they want to know a little bit about how to manage safety or first aid or insurance, and we'll give a bit of help if we can.
Okay. Rad.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's been fascinating.
Really cool to
Obviously.
hear the story, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
do you think
you,
there's
guys.
anything we've missed out, or are we all good, do you think? I want to make sure you've definitely... I think these are the two people that run... Well, two of the four people that run Bikepark Wales, and you're not suits. You're quite
not
lovely
suits.
people.
I guess
Let's take the intro back.
the only thing I'd like to say left is just thanks to the mountain bike community for having us on this ride, because without the riders, it never would have happened. It would have been nothing. We would have had a business plan that was wrong by 25,000 visitors. So yeah, thanks for that.
Rad. Awesome.
Wicked.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for everything you continue to do for mountain biking. And the project was really fun. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Rad.
Nice one.
Like and subscribe? Yeah?
We talked over each other at the end. Shame. Bad ending. Hey man, what an episode that was. You did amazing in it.
And so did you.
You shone like a star.
You shone like a moon.
I shone like a focused spring deal.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
beautiful
good.
transition.
Right, I've got a question for you, David, to kick this final advert off.
yeah.
What would you do with up to 400 euros
Yeah.
if you got it back when buying a bike?
Ooh, I could stay in the bike shop and spend my 400 euros on accessories.
Good point. Support your local bike shop. Great point.
I could take the 400 euros and go to another shop close by, maybe buy 400 euros of pasta, maybe go to the Euro
Fuels your
store,
ride.
get 400 euros and just, that's Christmas done for eternity. Just
True.
keep handing them out every
Lottery
year.
tickets,
Yeah, beans,
tyres,
a
chamois cream,
new pet.
a new pet, perhaps a water dragon or an iguana. Lovely idea. Well, Focus are actually making that question a reality.
Nice.
Because with the Focus Spring deals, you can grab up to 400 euros back when buying a new bike. If you want to find out more, check out the terms and conditions and all of the details in the link. We're going to put that below, and I'm also going to read it out.
Please.
Okay, you ready for me to read it out?
Yes, I'm
This is old school, innit? Reading out links.
Yeah, anticipation.
I'm gonna
is
do
high.
it anyway.
Please do
I'm
it.
doing it.
I want the deal.
ride.focus.bikes/spring deals TRC.
Ooh, nice. So that is ride.focus.bikes/spring deals TRC. And let us know in the comments what you would do with 400 euros. Best answer wins a signed ODub hat.
Oh, I like it. Good.
All
I've
right.
got hats. Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, I'm good
Okay,
for that.
okay.
Hey, can we also put something up here that you can click on for the next episode?
How about we put a subscribe up there in the middle?
Yeah, lovely.
We're going to put a video we think that our lovely companionship will love on your face.
on my face.
Yeah.
So
And
they
on
can't
my
see me now.
Gone. And on my face, another video that we think people will love. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please hit like and subscribe. You guys are the best.
Peace and love.